So we are breaking down 2 positions each show, and we're trying to fill you in on everything you need to know about 2 areas of the draft that you can maybe get better in for your football team. So we're going to be talking running backs and defensive tackles in this one. We're only doing top 5s in these because after you get past top 5, it kind of gets a little what's the word, Scotty? Murky.
Listen, it's
murky.
It gets to be a dime a dozen. Like, you could argue after 2 guys, it gets to be a dime a dozen with the running back class here. And 1 is separated in my mind from 2. So, like, I'll talk about it as we go through this. Like, I'm not a big take a running back early in the draft guy at all. There's one that's debatably like very, very worth it. And we'll get into that. But this running back draft is not great depth wise, Chris. So we're not going to talk about 10 guys because I'm not sure there's 5 guys worthy of talking about that are going to make a big impact on the team next year.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to keep this super high level for you guys. I mean, we're going to be covering the first round of the NFL draft on stream, and we're going to most likely be trying to cover names that you might see in that or potentially in that first round. Running backs have kind of been a little bit on the outs. It's not cool anymore to be taking running backs super.
I love Rack in the chat, Chris. Did you see that? He's like, who's the dumbass that's going to draft Bijan early on? And I'm like, that's adorable. That's, you know what that is? That's pain as a Steelers fan for drafting Najee Harris in the first round. That's all that is.
Najee.
Hey, I agree that we should have drafted him, but no, that's not the pain.
I don't think, and listen, he should be a first round pick. Not early. It should be in the 20s, but he should be a first-round pick. He's different.
I mean, I think, and from everything that I've seen, he's a stud. So we're going to get to all of our top 5 here, but we're starting out on the top of number 5, Tyjae Spears. Tulane. By the way, that logo for Tulane, like, I just...
Too lame?
It
or
might...
Did you like it?
It might be too lame. But hey, there you go. It's a strange logo. Coming in here at number 5, 5'10", 201 pounds, 4'4", 540. You have the comp here to Michael Carter coming in to the league. So, Scotty, what do you like most about Mr. Spears, and what can he bring to any team that takes him in the NFL draft?
He's more of a change of pace guy, so he's not going to be your bell cow by any stretch of the imagination. He's going to be in a dual threat, running back situation on a team where he's your change of pace, your quicker, lighter back that can kind of get outside the numbers a little more and do a little bit more of that compared to somebody that's straight power or up the middle in your power run scheme. So. I mean, he averaged 7 yards per carry at Tulane, Chris. You can't ignore that. Like, 7 yards is a lot for a running back. Almost unheard of. He had 21 touchdowns in this past season at Tulane. He's, quick, good bend, okay field vision, makes some good cuts. Wasn't asked to catch the ball a ton, but when he was, did all right there. He's just, he did tear an ACL early on in his career that knocked him out for a while. So you always have to think about that. Not super powerful in any regard where he's going to break tackles. Once he's hit, he's kind of going down. And yeah, you got to question the injury history. But as a change of pace, third down back, that kind of thing, this guy could play a little bit. So I think he's going to have a position on the team. But if you're expecting this guy to be like your number 1 running back, that's not who this guy is.
Yeah, he's I think a guy that, you're not going to lean on heavily for sure. I think he's a guy that you'll probably just plug in. Maybe he could surprise you eventually down the line, but you're not drafting him to be the guy, right? So, but yeah, that's where we're starting out here. Tyjae Spears, interesting player. Where is he projected as of right now? Is he
It's a good
kind of
question.
middle rounds? Maybe is that where's he at?
Let me see if I can.
Getting to Chilane is hard. You gotta go down a tour-lane road.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Rec, for the biddies and the joke. Hey, and bits.
I'm seeing third round.
Third round. Okay, third round. So,
Could be. I would guess third or fourth.
Okay, there you go. Third.
You said that he had 7 yards per carry, but didn't go down. But like once he's touched, he goes down. That sounds a lot more like his offensive line is that good.
Sure. I'm not saying he goes down with his touch, but he's not like a power running back. Like he'll make guys miss with the arm tackles, but like if he's straight on with a guy, he's not gonna like blow through a guy and overpower somebody. So maybe I misrepresented. He can give you more than what you block for, but it's more breaking tackles where with elusiveness than it is power and running over guys and getting through. He's 201 pounds. He's not a big guy.
No, yeah, 5'10". I mean, yeah, he's not a huge guy. Here we go.
That's pretty small for a running back.
Let's get into number 4. Zach How do you say the last name? Scotty? Charbonnet? Like a Cabernet? Almost?
Cabernet. Yeah. He's like an age.
Age is like
Cabernet.
Yeah. There you go. See? We drink a little wine on the show. Now we're all sophisticated. Zach Charbonnet, running back out of UCLA, 6 foot, 214, and he is running a 4.5 340. You have a player comp to DeMarco Murray here. And, 2022 recorded 195 carries, 1,359 yards, 7-yard average, 14 touchdowns. He caught 37 passes for 321 yards. Quick back, good size. He could be an effective 3-down starter in the NFL. I think that's what most teams hope he can be. But what do you think here? I think he's projected as of right now between rounds 2, maybe 3, depending on if he drops a little bit further. But Scotty, what are your thoughts on Zach here?
Listen, he's a foundational back, so he can be the workhorse back that we weren't talking about before. He's in that mold at 214, 6 foot. He's 22, so he played a long time. He's a little older, maybe, but foundational back, great speed, like long-term breakaway speed. Did catch 37 balls last year, so proved that he has the ability to catch a pass out of the backfield, even with that big size. He's kind of more of that like bulldozer. He's very opposite than who we just talked about. He'll run over you. He's tall. He's muscled up. He's got a big frame. He's short, but I don't know if he can accelerate necessarily. Like he's long distance. He can break go the distance, but I don't know if he can accelerate cut to cut at this point. That's an elite level in the league. He's worth taking a shot on, though. I think if he's there in the early 3rd round and you're looking for a running back, here's a guy that you could definitely take a chance on. He's a little upright, a little too stiff, but that's honestly something you can coach up a little bit. That's not an athletic weakness for him. That's just a running style weakness that you can coach up. So I like him a decent amount. Is he ever going to be a top 5 running back in the league? No. But can he be a solid contributor for an offense? Absolutely.
Yeah, and you mentioned he's upright, slightly stiff, physical style. I think that could invite injuries at some point if you're getting into the NFL and you have that kind of a style might lend itself. But overall, I mean, this is a kid who former 4-star recruit, 4th ranked running back in this class, 46th player overall at that point when he was being recruited. Started his career at Michigan and then ended up as things kind of slowed down there, transferred to UCLA in 2021. But overall, he's like a muscle car runner. He's He's going to be that power guy that's going to get you, some of those hard yards each and every single time. So, yeah, interesting guy here. I'm curious to see where he goes, but overall, he could be a fun one to watch. Keep your eye on. Number 3 on our running back draft preview, we have Devon Achane?
Achane, obviously.
Devon Achane, running back, Texas A&M. 5'9", 188, 4.32 40. You have him compared here to Javid Best. Scotty, what do you love about Mr. Devon?
I mean, he's a very athletic guy in the open field. So like Javid Best, undersized, not huge in any stretch of the imagination at, 188 pounds. That's tiny for the running back position. This is not a bell cow. 4.32 40 is probably one of the fastest running backs we've ever seen at that position. You don't usually see anybody. 4.4 is not normal, but 4.3 is wild. He started off at Texas A&M with not a lot of carries, but his first year he was averaging 8.5 yards per attempt, Chris. It wasn't a ton of carries, only 43 carries, but that's a wild amount. He played in the SEC, he fought through that, and was able to be elite in that regard. Obviously he's undersized, so like you have the worry about whether he can hold up. He doesn't have the power component. He's not going to be an every down back. He didn't really do a lot of pass protection, so even as a third round guy, you got to be careful and make sure he can pass block on those third downs if he's not getting carries. But in the run game, like if you're just handing it off to this guy, there's not a lot to not like. Like he has good vision, he's got good cuts, he's obviously fast, he's athletic. It's just in the NBA you talk about like load management, right? Like this is a guy you gotta load manage. He's not built in the way where you can just hand it off to him time and time again. You got to be protective of him and careful, but in the right moments, he can be a game breaker for you.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing, we just kind of compared, we just had like a muscle car at number 4, right? And, that's kind of what we were comparing him to. Now you're looking into the sports cars, right? You have a short, compact frame, plays at a rare acceleration and breakaway speed. I think that, he was a 2-sport athlete. He ran track for the Aggies. He's like lightning quick. Start-stop bursts make him difficult to wrangle both behind the line of scrimmage and on the open field. I think that there's a lot of explosive nature that comes with what he can do. I mean, he averaged 5.6 yards per carry, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. He also brought in 36 catches, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He has the capability to be a very game-breaking, like just dynamic player that can open things up very quickly for a team just based off of just the explosive nature of what he can bring to the field. But realistically, I think that there's the lack of size that you have to be aware of here because, smaller guys, I think that's kind of a good thing if he's hiding kind of behind a line of scrimmage, a bigger line of scrimmage. Maybe he can kind of be a little more evasive behind something like that. But he's not going to be a high volume ball carrier. Like you said, you mentioned it. He's not going to be a guy you could just give the ball to down after down after down. He's going to be a guy that you're going to want to use very strategically when you're working him into the offense. So world-class speed. He could be effective in the passing game in the right situations, and he's a field tilter. I mean, he's got the instinctual playmaking, short area quickness, and he could be a fascinating player to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, he's small. Holy Ash, what's up? How we doing, Ash? What's going on? How you been? What's
bitty?
What's been going on with you? How's the weekend treating you? Remind me of your favorite teams. I forget. Let me know. We could get to know you a little. I forget. But there you go. running back, Texas A&M coming in at number 3. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. We have a 5'9", 199 pound player here, 4'3", 40, and we have a player comp to Aaron Jones. So here we're starting to get into the top echelon of these players. He was phenomenal at Alabama in 2022. Long runs, ripping off those like nothing, doing damage as a receiver. He's a superb route runner, excellent weapon in the passing game. He averaged 6.1 yards per carry for 926 yards and 7 touchdowns, 44 receptions for 444 yards, 3 scores. I mean, some people over some announcers over the course of the season have compared him to Alvin Kamara, but other people say he's more like a DeAndre Swift. We have him here compared to an Aaron Jones. But Scotty, what do you love about Jahmyr Gibbs?
Kamara's probably close too. Kamara's not a bad comp as well.
Yeah.
This guy that was kind of like under talked about and maybe underutilized at Alabama last year. He transferred. He started his career at Georgia Tech, played there a couple years, was successful, but ultimately had his best success last year at Alabama. He's an outside the tackles guy that can separate, big play back, great acceleration, but he might be also the best pass catcher in this class. I mean, you said 44 catches last year for 444 yards. That sounds like in maybe the NFL, it's like, that's good. That's really good, but not great. In college, like they don't feature the back as a pass catcher nearly as often. So 44 grabs in a college season shows like he has the hands, he has the ability. Get this guy in open space and he's trouble. I mean, 4'3", 640. 10 pounds bigger than who we just talked about. So still not a huge guy, not an every down bell cow back necessarily, but like as a guy that you can throw to or get him, outside the tackles in the run game, this guy will dominate. And a little bit like, an Aaron Jones or an Alvin Kamara who have really taken off. This dude can absolutely be that guy and is probably underrated a little bit as far as how good he is going into this draft. Like he potentially could be a top 20 player in this draft. Will he go in the first round? I don't think so. I think he's a second round guy, but he like traits wise and just ability wise, I think NFL teams are devaluing the running back position, and that's why he's a second round guy. If you were talking 5 years ago, this dude's a first round back.
Yeah, and I think too, with where we're going in the NFL with the passing games and the high-powered offenses and how you're getting running backs involved in other ways, it's the passing game, right? And I think that's where he separates himself in the next, from the next level of running backs. He's natural receiving skills, good hands to feel to get that separation and also catch the ball in coverage, sure hands for being able to reel in those passes. But I mean, he can create mismatches in the passing game once he gets out there, and he's a guy that can really make big plays from that standpoint. So not only can he have a lot of game-changing ability from just handing the ball off and a versatile skill set, but he's very, very good at being part of us. If you're have an offense that's built around passing the ball and using your running back in that kind of mentality, I think he could be a very, very strong pick for any team that takes him at that level. So, really, really nice athlete here from Alabama, coming in at number 2, former 4-star recruit. All right, let's go ahead. Let's unveil number 1 on our running back draft list, and we have. I don't think there's any surprise here.
No.
Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas, 5'11", 215. 4.46 40. You have him comped out to Edgerrin James. You might recognize the name. He's Edgerrin James was pretty good too. But 2022 Robinson averaged 6.1 yards per carry, 1,500 yards and almost 1,600 yards and 18 touchdowns. He brought in 19 receptions, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns. He could potentially be the best player in the 2023 draft, and pro teams think he has a rare ability to be a superstar in this league potentially. So there are sources around the league. I mean, he's got an elite grade in some of the camps around who have been evaluating him and grading him. He had a tremendous showing at the combine. Overall, he has a very, very high ceiling when it comes to anybody who's going to take him. Rare versatility, instinctual playmaking, short area quickness. Scotty, I'm going to dive into a couple more things, but I mean, there's what's not to like about Bijan Robinson.
Nothing. The thing to not like about Bijan Robinson is he plays running back,
Or that
and
he's not on
maybe
your team.
A lot of teams may not value running back in a situation where they want to use a first round pick these days. It's changed a lot in that regard. This is the best running back at minimum prospect since probably Saquon Barkley, and he might be better than Saquon. Where after that you got to go back to like Adrian Peterson level. Like that's how good this guy is. He does not have a weakness. He's fast enough at 4.46. He's elusive. He breaks tackles. Chris, he was on my radar. You might remember this in 2020. He played against CU in a bowl game where he carried the ball 10 times in that game for 183 yards. Chris. That's 18.3 yards per carry. That's not bad. And another 2 catches for 37, and he scored 3 touchdowns in the game. Absolutely like embarrassed the Buffs in that bowl game. This guy, like when you're talking about 6.1 yards per carry last year, like, oh, some of the other guys we talked about had better averages. Everyone on the universe was game planning for this guy last year. Like they're like, no, our focus is going to be to stop their run game with Robinson, force him to pass the ball. And he still got 6.1 yards per carry. Edgerrin James was an underrated great in the league. I know he played with Peyton Manning his career, but like so good for so long coming out of Miami and getting drafted early with the Colts. Bijan Robinson's gonna be. I'm so conflicted, Chris, because I hate running backs.
You do.
I'm like, you don't use an early pick on running back. You don't. But this dude is one of the few in the last decade that it's like, listen, if you have a ton of holes, don't pick this guy. But if you're like, we don't have a ton of holes and we really could use a playmaker at the running back position in the first round, later in the first round,
best available,
early 20s to whatever, I wouldn't hate a team taking this dude at all. And I mean, just forget position and straight talent. He's a top 5 talent in this draft, Chris. He's a top 5 talent in this draft, and he will not go in the top 15. There's no chance of that. So you're getting a very, very talented player later than that.
Insane value.
Yeah.
And not only that, he could pick up blitzes. He could help in the rush pass protection game. He's very, very good at that. He shows patience behind the line, but there are times where he kind of waits a little too long. But that's a nitpicky thing if you're gonna pick at anything. I just think that the fact that the biggest thing for him and why he would fall is basically just the fact that running backs aren't popular anymore. That's not the thing. So
5 years ago, he would be.
I mean,
at minimum a top 10.
100%
minimum.
And he's honestly, I mean, they're saying better than. There's some people saying he's better than Saquon, and everyone was hyping Saquon coming out, and they're like, oh, he could be a high volume producer from day one. He's the most complete running back in Saquon, and his 3-down skill set is just second to none. I mean, he's very, very good. He runs with his pads low, and when he needs to, he'll try to break tackles and try to power through when needed. So I mean, he doesn't have elite speed, but he's more than capable of turning short runs into long gains. And so
4.46 is nothing to be shamed.
No,
that's for a running back. I would argue that is elite speed.
But
for a running back,
and he could catch the ball a little bit too, which makes him even more terrifying. Once he, I mean, there were some highlight reels where he looked like a receiver out there. So, you want to keep an eye on him. I mean, there's not much to not like about Bijan Robinson. So he's going to be your number one.
If you're a fan of the team that takes him in the first round, you're gonna be pretty excited.
Yeah.
Now,
Agreed.
it could end up disappointing in the long term just because like we needed to like get a pass rusher instead of a running back, or there are other positions of need. But like, he will not disappoint. He's gonna produce in this league, no doubt.
Absolutely. So there you go. Those are our top 5 rushing attack leaders here. Top 5 running backs that we will be targeting and keeping an eye on for the NFL draft coming up here in less than a month here. We're 25 days away from the NFL draft, and we are going to be seeing some of these names coming off the board. It's just a matter of when and to who. So if your team is in that range, and you're looking for some guys, you might want to.
Rec probably is. The Steelers might want to target a first round running back.
It's a trap.